program. What kind of Bible question do you have? What subject is of concern to you? Well, this is a program designed to offer you the opportunity to call in and ask questions or comments relating to the Bible. Our host and Bible teacher, Chris McCann, will respond by going to the Bible, the infallible Word of God. Our program is hosted Monday through Friday beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Sundays, it begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Call our toll-free number at 888-969-9883. Again, that's 888-969-9883. There will be someone there to answer your call and give you simple instructions to be on the program. You can also join through Zoom video by going to ebiblefellowship.org and clicking the icon at the top. If you're calling in from another country, select the International Toll-Free button to find your country's number.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to eBible Fellowship's new open forum program. During this time, we're going to open up the phone line to take your call, and each person is invited to give us a call if you have a question or a comment that you would like to make, and I'll try to respond by going to the Bible, which is God's holy word. We do not pre-screen any of the calls, so whatever you want to talk about, whatever verse, no one's going to ask you beforehand to see if that's on our approved list or anything like that. We have no list. The only thing we ask is that it be related to the Bible. And so if there's a listener who hears something they think is unbiblical, unfaithful, well, you can call in and tell us that. And again, the person who receives your call is just going to give you instruction on how to raise your hand and unmute yourself. They will not ask anything about your question, regarding what it is. Okay, let's get started by going to our first caller tonight. Welcome to our new open forum program. Please go ahead with your call.
Yes, Chris, I got to talk into my phone. Mr. McCann. Hi, I have a Bible question on a few verses you can look up. I'm not going to make any comments today. I'll just ask you about the verses and what your thoughts on it are, biblically, of course. The verse is Psalm 102, verse 24, and in Psalm 90, where it says, "So teach us the number of days that our hearts might be applied unto wisdom." I'll give you the verses, though. I better give it to you. I have it marked here in my Bible.
Psalm 102, Psalm 102, 20. And
24.
Psalm 90, which verse?
Yes. Verse 24, Psalm 102. Psalm 90, verse 9 through 12. Yes.
All right. Psalm 102, verse 24.
Yes.
I said, "Oh my God, take me not away in the midst of my days. Thy years are throughout all generations." Well, the previous verse says in verse 23, "He weakened my strength in the way. He shortened my days." And then I said, "Oh my God, take me not away in the midst of my days. Thy years are throughout all generations." And Psalm 90, starting in verse 12.
Verse 9.
Oh, verse 9. For all our days are passed away in thy wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told. The days of our years are 80 years and 10. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, Yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. Who knoweth the power of thine anger? Even according to thy fear, so is thy wrath. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom.
And your comments, please. Thank you.
Well, yeah, where it says in Psalm 90, all our days are passed away in thy wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told. Throughout history, since mankind has sinned, back in the Garden of Eden, all generations who were unsaved abided under the wrath of God throughout their whole life. We read in John 3, the last verse of that chapter, in verse 36, he that believeth on the Son hath everlasting life, and he that believeth not the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abideth on him. And that was the natural condition for mankind in every generation, upon every person. The only ones who came out from under the wrath of God were those that became saved. And so it's just the fact that all our days are passed away in thy wrath, and we spend our years as a tale that is told. And then there's mention of 80 years and 10, which is 70, or by reason of strength, 80 years, the days of our years, if they're 70 or 80. Yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off when we fly away. I haven't checked recently, but in the past I have Googled what is the average age for a man, for a woman, and it's right in between 70 and 80, right in the line. Women at the time I Googled lived longer than men, but still it didn't average out to over 80, and the men were right in the 70s as well. So now, of course, that's not the case with every single person. You can have a couple and the husband dies in his 50s and the wife dies in her 90s. And so the average for the couple would be in the 70s, the median. And with all modern technology, all the improvements in healthcare, with being able to spot cancer early, and all the treatments and medicines and all of that, mankind is still right there, between 70 and 80. 70 years, or by reason of strength 80. And they have not gone beyond, and they will not go beyond. God basically has set the bounds. Now, that doesn't mean an individual can't live to 100, of course, they can. But again, the average for the people of the world works out right between 70 and 80. Now, in Psalm 102, he weakened my strength in the way, he shortened my days. We do read of a shortened period of days in Matthew 24. And I'll turn over there. Matthew 24 tells us in verse 21, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. And this has to do with the 23-year Great Tribulation. The first part was 2,300 evening mornings, wherein virtually no one was being saved. Absolutely no one in any church, virtually no one in the world. And so if the character of that first part, that grievous 2300-day period, which is 6 years and about 4 months from, we know, by God's grace, it began May 21, 1988, continued for 2300 days to September 7th. And again, virtually no one is saved. And in the church, that grievous 2300-day period did continue for the full 23 years. No one was saved in any church. And yet God shortened the days for the elect's sake, and the elect were going to become saved outside the churches. And so September 7th, 1994, he sent forth the latter rain to save a great multitude. And so those days were shortened for the elect that were out in the world, outside of the world's churches and congregations. Coming back here, in Psalm 102, he shortened my days. Yeah, I don't know if this is related. Actually, the word shorten here is the word reap. From Leviticus 23:10, reap the harvest. It is that word. So he reaped my days. It is probably, in translation, it gives us a better understanding. Whereas the word shorten, as far as I know, in Matthew 24, is not the word reap. So there more than likely isn't a connection. But then in verse 24, I said, "Oh my God, take me not away in the midst of my days. Thy years are throughout all generations." And there's a reference to "in the midst of the years make known." I think it's in Habakkuk. Let me see if I can find it. Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 2. "O Jehovah, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Jehovah, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years make known. In wrath remember mercy." Now, this verse in Habakkuk does relate to the Great Tribulation. The work that's in view is Christ's work, God's work that ye believe. John 6, verse 28 and 29 tells us this, the work of God that ye believe. And Jesus said in John 9, he must work the works of him that sent him while it is day, while it's the day of salvation. But that 2300-day period, which was a period of wrath, when judgment began at the house of God, it was wrath, and virtually no one's being saved for over 6 years. So revive thy work in the midst of the years. And this would be in the midst of the Great Tribulation, not right down the middle, but it was definitely a dividing point within that Great Tribulation. So after the 2300 evening mornings, virtually no one is being saved. So revive thy work. Revive means, bring to life. And the work of God is salvation, that ye believe. And it goes on to say, revive thy work in the midst of the years. That would point to the latter rain. In the midst of the years, make known. And that also we can understand as we think about the word that was sealed till the time of the end. And knowledge was said to increase when the end of time would come. As God said to Daniel, seal up the word, Daniel, till the time of the end, knowledge will increase. And that fits. In the midst of the years, during the Great Tribulation, make known in wrath, remember mercy. And the only way we can understand that, as far as wrath having to do with an official judgment of God, there's a judgment upon the church and there is a judgment upon the world. And presently, we're living at a time when the judgment is upon the world. It's God's wrath. Will he remember mercy as far as saving? Will he revive the work in the midst of these years to save? No. No, he can't. He can. He had to complete salvation in order to bring this period of time to pass. So it must be the earlier judgment, when judgment begins at the house of God. In wrath, God remembered mercy. He shortened the days for the elect's sake and began to pour out the latter rain in September 1994 to save that great multitude. And then everything fits. So going back to Psalm 102.
24.
Yeah. Oh God, oh my God, take me not away in the midst of my days. Thy years are throughout all generations. It doesn't seem to, this take me not away. It does kind of remind of Hezekiah when Hezekiah fell sick and he turned to the wall weeping. And I think that's in Isaiah 37. And no, Isaiah 30. Well, this is the sundial in chapter 38. But earlier Hezekiah had turned to the wall. Where is that? Yeah. Well, yeah, I can't find it. But anyway, the wall identifies with salvation. And he turned to the wall weeping because it really was pointing to the idea there's more to be saved. And so God extended his days. I believe he had reigned 14 years to that point, and God extended his days 15 more years. So it would be 29 total. And that would definitely be at that point in the midst of his days, as far as his reign was concerned. And days were added unto him, and also time, you know what? Someone brought a question about the sundial, and let's go over there. It was last week, Isaiah 38. Isaiah 38, and it says in verse 7, and this shall be a sign unto thee from Jehovah, that Jehovah will do this thing that he has spoken. Behold, I'll bring again the shadow of the degrees, which has gone down in the sundial of Ahaz, 10 degrees backward. So the sun returned 10 degrees, by which degrees it was gone down. And then Hezekiah had been sick and was recovered of his sickness. And verse 10, I said, in the cutting off of my days, I shall go to the gates of the grave, and that Sheol, hell, it's also translated as, I am deprived of the residue of my years. and residue is also translated remnant, remnant, the remnant of my years, which again, Hezekiah type of Christ. More to save is the idea. So God extends the time. It's like when the sundial gets to a certain point, time has, as it were, reached its completion, but then God will move it back. It'll go back the 10 degrees, and that's 40 minutes out of a day, and it went back, and then time had to run again. So it's like the extension to his life of 15 years, but it spiritually points to uh, giving Christ more time to save. And the Great Tribulation, when we think about it, we would think that God would have saved everyone he wanted to save over the church age, 1955 years. But then the church age completes, and then there's this judgment, this wrath, and virtually no one's being saved. But there's, as it were, this extension of time, a latter rain, and about 17 years wherein God is saving a great multitude, and that will fill up the total of all the elect that the Lord intended to save. And I think it's probably related to that. But thank you for calling and sharing. And let's go to the next person on the phone tonight. Welcome to our question and answer program. Please go ahead with your call.
Hi, Chris. I just had a question about relating to Jesus's birthday in the year 33 AD. And I was wondering, I think it's May 12th that he ascended into heaven. Is that correct? Because he arose April 3rd. And so 40 days later lands on May 12th.
Yeah, I don't remember. It would be, probably the best way of doing it would be, we know Friday was April 1st, and he rose early Sunday, April 3rd. And then also Friday was the 15th in the evening, 14th day of Nisan in the day portion. So Saturday would be 15, Sunday early morning 16 Nisan, and then count 40 in the Hebrew calendar. And once you find the Hebrew date, you can find the proleptic Gregorian calendar date, because the Gregorian calendar wasn't the calendar in use. It was the Julian calendar at that time.
Well,
But that would
yeah,
probably be the way to do it.
I
And
was
the way,
also back.
yeah,
I
well,
was also
one
back.
other
Oh, go
thing,
ahead.
when we have 14th day of the first month of the Hebrew calendar, then 1 month, 1 month is 29.530 days. So you project 29.530 into the future from that 14th day, which was Friday, April 1st. And that is the beginning of the second month. It doesn't matter what Hebrew calendar converter sites say or anything else says. That's how God has established the calendar with certainty. And we could look around and find other sites that confirm that. But even if they don't, it is built into the creation. It's a clock God built in. And so the working of that calendar, the lunar calendar for the Jews, you go 29.530, it'll take you into the second month from that 14th day, and that's how you should count And then you're about, 10 days from that 40-day mark, and you can calculate from there.
Yeah, and I also worked backwards from May 22nd, Pentecost, because that was Pentecost, right? May 22nd. And so just 10 days before it would have been May 12th. But I was wondering if May 12th is the day that Jesus ascended back into heaven after being on earth for 40 more days.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't remember. I don't remember the date.
yeah.
Um,
Well, he had Mr. Campion had May 22nd for Pentecost, and then but um but what I was if you just backtrack 10 days it would land on May 12th, but I noticed from May 12th, which would if this is the last day he's on earth before he ascended, all the way to his birthday, if it's October 1st, would is 144 days. I just thought that was kind of interesting, and I'm not sure if you've looked at that before.
no, no. Yeah, I think if you went all the way to his birthday in 7 BC and calculated the number of days, that would be very interesting. But his birthday in any particular year, yeah, I don't know if that has significance.
Well, the reason I thought of that was because he never made it to his 39th birthday, which he would have turned 39, 144 days later, if that's the case. So I just thought maybe, but I know you mentioned the focal point's maybe not on so
Oh,
much his
you're talking
age.
about into the future,
Yeah,
not
so
not
30,
he. I thought you said he turned his birthday. I thought you were talking about his last birthday in October of uh the when he turned 38. But
no,
you're
no,
you're thinking into the future
right,
uh of of 33 AD.
correct, yeah. Yeah, he would have turned 39 that year if he had made it. Uh, well, it was, if from the cross it would have been more, but I noticed from when he resurrected, since he stayed another 40 days on earth, that's a little over a month. So I calculated it, and in October 1st it would be the 144th day from May 12th.
But keep in mind that the Hebrew calendar shifts. And if if he's born October 1st in 7 BC, it was the Day of Atonement. That's what you have to look for in 33 AD. Which day is the Day of Atonement? And then the proleptic Gregorian calendar date might be different.
Oh, okay, I
It
see.
might be September, it might be October 4 or something.
Oh, okay,
So you really can't do it that way.
I see. Okay. So do you would later, if you have time, could you show the method, the best method for calculating dates between?
Well, you know when Passover is, you can do it. Passover, the evening was March 31st, and the day was April 1st, when what we call Good Friday. Christ on the cross was April 1st, and that we know is the 14th day of the first month. So you're looking for the Day of Atonement. So just go multiply what would that, six, six from there to the 14th day of the seventh month, and then you can adjust to the Day of Atonement, just minus, and that'll take you to the Day of Atonement. So you would do 6 times 29.530, and actually go to Grok and have him do the calculate, or it do the calculation. Um, just say, Grok, this is the date Christ hung on the cross, Friday, April 1st, 33 AD. I want to project 6 months to the Day of Atonement and tell it to use astronomical data. Not, it will draw from Hebrew calendar converter sites and say, use this method to calculate. 29.530 days per month. It'll recognize you're talking about lunar months.
Hmm.
I want to know, according to that, when the Day of Atonement would occur in the Hebrew seventh month in the year 33 AD.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a shot.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling and sharing. If anyone else has a question, please give us a call, 888-969-9883. Let's go to the next caller tonight. Welcome to our open forum program. Please go ahead with your call.
Hi, Chris. I had a question in Ezekiel 5:4, please.
Okay, Ezekiel 5, verse 4. Okay, it says, then take of them again. And this is speaking about hair, but in verse 1, and thou, son of man, take thee a sharp knife, and take thee a barber's razor, and cause it to pass upon thine head, and upon thy beard. Then take thee balances to weigh, and divide the hair. Thou shalt burn with fire a third part in the midst of the city, when the days of the siege are fulfilled. And thou shalt take a third part, and smite about it with a knife, and a third part thou shalt scatter in the wind, and it will draw out a sword after them. Thou shalt also take thereof a few in number, and bind them in thy skirts. Then take of them again, and cast them into the midst of the fire, and burn them in the fire. For thereof shall a fire come forth into all the house of Israel.
Thank you. The question was about, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read here, where are the people coming from? And also, is there a reason, like why God had needed to do it twice?
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean, where are they coming from?
Or few, yeah, the few in number. I'm trying to remember if this is matching this script, this verse, but where they were coming from, the first, the second, and the third, I have written down here.
Yeah.
And why is God casting them in the fire twice?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. You'll burn with fire a third part in the midst of the city. So that's in verse 2. When the days of the siege are fulfilled, and thou shalt take a third part, smite about it with a knife. That's the second. And a third part thou shalt scatter in the wind, and I'll draw out a sword after them. So, first burn, then smite with a knife, scatter in the wind, and God will draw out a sword after them. Thou shalt also take thereof a few in number, and bind them in thy skirts. Well, using the language of the third part is just describing the judgment on the church. For instance, in Revelation 8, third part is mentioned many times. It says in Revelation 8, verse 7, the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burned up, and all green grass was burned up. And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And it just goes on. The sun, the third part of the sun, third part of the moon, third part of the stars. And so as in the middle of verse 12, the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And it's just with every statement, the third part identifies with, well, it was originally identified with the elect. There's a few verses, especially in the Old Testament, where we can see the third part are God's people. They endure the fire. they're spared, their lives are spared. David in 2 Samuel 8, first 2, 3 verses, he, with one line, no, with 2 lines, he put Moabites to death, and with one line, he saved them. He didn't kill them. And David's a type of Christ. So they lived, and that's one third, 2/3, or one part, the two parts, and then the third part they live. And then with I think it was Elijah, with the captain and his 50, 2 captains came and they were burned up. And the third captain came and he pleaded and begged, and his life and the 50 men with him were spared. So it's established that the third part identify with those who are spared, who are delivered, the saved. Well, where do you find the saved in the New Testament era? In the churches. In the churches. Not everyone in the church was saved, but the church took upon, or God gave it that designation, third part. And when he brings judgment on the church, he describes it as judgment on the third part. Here, the Son of Man, take a sharp knife, barber's razor, cause it to pass upon your head, upon your beard, shaving the head, shaving the beard. The hair, it would identify with the people of God. There's a reference in Jeremiah, cut off thine hair, O Jerusalem, because God's judgment is upon them. And so here the hair are a figure, due to the tie-in with the third part, of those who would have the name of God. That even though it's Judah, it would point to the church where the saved are. And so God is looking at the third part of the hair to burn, just like the third part of ships in Revelation 8, or the third part of the hair to smite with a knife, like the third part of the sun. Or that's all tied into the judgment of God upon the rebellious apostate people of Judah, who are spiritually representing the rebellious apostate people of the church at the time of the end of the church age. Thou shalt also take thereof a few in number and bind them in thy skirts. Now we might think, because of the word few, oh, this is the elect. And if it would have stopped there, maybe we could have carried that idea. They've been protected, a few out of the whole, and God didn't judge them. Many are called, the professed Christians are the many, few are chosen, few are the elect. However, we find here, and we also find in the book of Jeremiah, that there are a few left in the land. After God has brought to pass the judgment upon Jerusalem, the judgment upon Judah, after many thousand have been carried away into captivity, the king of Babylon set up a governor over the land of Judah, and he governed the poor of the land. Another figure. Not only were they few in number, but they were mostly poor, and he governed them. And then there was this character named Ishmael, and he came with not too many men, but enough, I guess, because he came back to the city, and he killed Gedaliah, who was the governor, and others, and he also killed some Babylonians, and then he got away. Well, soldiers returned back from the field, And God warns us in Matthew 24, let those that are in the field not return back. In telling us about the end of the church age, when you see the abomination, flee to the mountain. And then there's certain warnings. If you're on the housetop, don't come down into the house to take anything away from the house. And the house is the church. And if you're in the field, do not return back. Well, these soldiers were out in the field. They would have been like forces. The main battle would have been in Jerusalem and fighting the Babylonians there. But there were detachments of soldiers, off doing this assignment, off doing that assignment. And they returned to the land, and they heard that Gedaliah had been slain. And, at first they go to Jeremiah. They go to Jeremiah, who is still, doing God's service. He's still bringing the word of the Lord to them. And they say, tell us what the Lord would have us to do, because they're afraid that the governor, the king of Babylon set up, is killed, and some Babylonians are killed. And what's he going to do? He's going to come kill us or come take us into captivity. And they go to Jeremiah, and it's only a remnant. It's few men. And they say, tell us what the Lord would have us to do. And whatever the Lord says, we will do. Very faithful sounding, just what you would expect from the few, the remnant. And then God, or Jeremiah, goes to God, and no answer for 10 days. 10 days. And we can, even though it's not 40, it definitely was involved with testing them. Why didn't God just respond right away to Jeremiah? Well, because he knew what was in the hearts of those men. And so he waits, 3 days, 5 days, 8 days, all the way up to 10 days. And by this point, they're in a panic, because they're thinking word has already gotten back to the Babylonians, and the king of Babylon, in rage, has sent his army, and the army is en route, and will be here who knows when, shortly. Maybe they have soldiers nearer, closer by. Your mind can really, if you're fearful and anxious, your mind can set up a whole lot of scenarios of possible bad things that might happen. And so they're getting more and more fearful. And then God tells Jeremiah to tell them that to stay, and they will return to the land. Now, I remember someone back when we first were learning about the end of the church age pointed out that verse, and you see, God said the remnant could stay. And they tried to say that meant they could stay in the church. But no, they missed it. God said they would return to the land, meaning if they stayed, they would be carried away captive. They wouldn't be killed. They would be carried away captive, and after the period of captivity, the 70 years ran its course, they would return. And so the remnant that gave all this appearance of faithfulness, they showed their true colors. Thou speakest falsely. And these are the people. These are the people that then start speaking about, when our wives offered cakes to the Queen of Heaven, we didn't have all these problems. And you see, their true heart condition starts to surface. They were never faithful. They were never truly the elect of God. They were never that few, but they had this appearance of being the few. And I think we could relate that to individuals in Reformed churches, the church is apostate, they would recognize. But we, the faithful few, we're the faithful few. Well, anyway, this reminds me of that. They're a few in number, bind them in thy skirts, then take of them again and cast them into the midst of the fire and burn them in the fire, for thereof shall a fire come forth into all the house of Israel. And what happened with those Jews in Jeremiah, they fled to Egypt, and God, um, uh, he used his servant, the king of Babylon, to defeat Egypt. There is no place to run, no place to hide, and so ultimately they would have perished in Egypt. And here too, they're cast into the fire. I think it's in Ezekiel 15. Ezekiel 15, where we read in verse. I'll start in verse. Verse 2, Son of man, what is the vine tree more than any tree, or than a branch which is among the trees of the forest? Shall wood be taken thereof to do any work? Or will men take a pin of it to hang any vessel thereon? Behold, it is cast into the fire for fuel. The fire devoureth both the ends of it, and the midst of it is burned. Is it meet for any work? Behold, when it was whole, it was meet for no work. How much less shall it be meet yet for any work when the fire has devoured it, and it is burned? Therefore, thus saith the Lord Jehovah, as the vine tree among the trees of the forest, which I have given to the fire for fuel, so will I give the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will set my face against them. They shall go out from one fire, and another fire shall devour them. And ye shall know that I am Jehovah, when I set my face against them, and I will make the land desolate, because they have committed a trespass, saith the Lord Jehovah. Go out from one fire, and another fire will devour them. Fire, a synonym for judgment. Go out from great tribulation, judgment on church, into another fire, judgment on the world. And perhaps there is an appearance they escaped even the earlier fire, but the end result is they're cast into another fire. They went out from one into another. And numbers of people did that very thing when they left the church for whatever reason. At the time, it appeared due to faithfulness to the word of God, obedience to God's command to depart out. But since they've displayed disobedience, and they gave appearance of a remnant of the faithful few in coming out from one fire, only to be consumed in the next fire. Two tribulations at the time of the end, two judgments, two fires. And that may relate to what we're reading in Ezekiel 5.
That's interesting. Thank you. Because if I may make just two comments, I looked up the word skirts because I was, like you said, few in number. I was kind of wondering if that was elect, and skirts meant like a wing, an edge of a wing. I believe there was a couple other words, but according to the Hebrew 3671, it said wing. So then it made me kind of think that maybe that was the wing of the Lord. Yeah, I was probably going off in a wrong direction. And then one other comment I just wanted to make was the word again in Ezekiel 5:4. I looked that up, and it happens to be the same word in Genesis 2:15. The word took, it's spelled Laqlach. It's a Hebrew word.
Okay. So then take of them again.
Yeah, when in Genesis 2:15, when God says took, the word took, I don't have the verse right in front of me. I wrote it down that the word
Let
again.
me read it. Genesis 2:15. And Jehovah God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
Yeah, and that word took happens to be the same word as again in Ezekiel 5:4. So I don't know. I just wanted to tell you that. I don't know if that.
It's probably where it says, take of them again. It, I'm thinking because some Hebrew words, when we see their translation, um, they can be more than one word. So take again could be a translation of the same word, took or take. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Take of them again, or take of them. If it is take again, the same word, take of them. And the translators are thinking, well, there's already, thou shalt also take a few in number, bind them into skirts. And so it could be just the same Hebrew word. And the translator is just noticing further action concerning the few and would add the word again, possibly.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you for calling and sharing. And if anyone else has a question or a comment, you can call us at 888-969-9883. 888-969-9883. Okay, we'll stop here. Lord willing, we'll have another open forum tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. But for now, may you have a good night, and may the Lord's perfect will be done.
Thanks again for joining us for eBible Fellowship's live open forum program. You can call in with your Bible questions Monday through Friday beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and Sundays beginning at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, may the Lord's perfect will be done.